Imagine waking up one morning sipping your coffee and realizing that the weight of keeping up with everyone else's expectations has finally lifted. You look at your calendar once packed with lunches, phone calls, and social gatherings, and now it's blissfully clear, filled only with the things that truly bring you joy. Doesn't that sound like freedom? If you're over 70, you've likely noticed that the things you once thought were essential, like maintaining a wide circle of friends, don't hold the same importance anymore. And here's the truth. You don't need a big social network to live a happy, fulfilling life. In fact, embracing independence can be one of the most liberating choices you make in your later years. In this video, we're going to explore 7 powerful reasons why friendships aren't as necessary after 70 as they once were. We'll dive into how letting go of social pressures can boost your peace of mind, deepen your self-connection, and even improve your health. This isn't about shutting people out or feeling lonely. It's about choosing a life that feels authentic and free, one where you're no longer tied to obligations that drain your energy. By the end of this video, you'll see why prioritizing yourself isn't just okay. It's a game changer that can make your later years some of your happiest. So grab a cozy seat, maybe a cup of tea, and let's get started with our first reason. You've earned the right to live for yourself. Think about it. For decades, you've poured your energy into relationships, friends, colleagues, neighbors, maybe even acquaintances who drifted in and out of your life. In your younger years, those connections often came with a hidden cost, the need to prove yourself. Maybe you felt pressure to be the life of the party, to keep up with gossip, or to show you were still in the loop. I remember my Aunt Clara, who's now 78, telling me how she spent her 50s and 60s hosting dinner parties, not because she loved them, but because she thought it was what good friends did. She'd spend hours cooking, cleaning, and making small talk, only to feel exhausted afterward. When she hit 70, something clicked. She realized she didn't need to perform for anyone anymore. She'd already built a life full of love, work, and memories. Her legacy was set. This is where the beauty of your later years comes in. After 70, you don't need to chase approval or validation from others. You've seen enough of life to know that true happiness doesn't come from how many people like you. It comes from liking yourself. You've earned the right to let go of friendships that feel like work, the ones that leave you drained instead of uplifted. Take John, a 72-year-old widower I met at a community center. For years, he kept up with a group of old work buddies meeting for drinks every month. But the conversations always circled back to complaints about the economy, their aches and pains, or who was doing what wrong. One day, John skipped a meetup to spend the afternoon fishing alone by the lake. He came back glowing, not because he caught anything, but because he felt free. No forced laughter, no pretending to care about the same old stories. He was living for himself, and it felt good. This shift isn't about cutting people off. It's about recognizing that you don't need a crowd to feel whole. You've already proven yourself to the world, and now it's time to focus on what makes you happy. Maybe that's gardening, reading a novel uninterrupted, or just sitting quietly with your thoughts. When you stop spending energy on friendships that don't light you up, you reclaim that energy for yourself. You start to see how much of your life was spent on others' expectations and how little was left for your own dreams. So if you've ever felt guilty for saying no to a coffee date or skipping a group event, let this be your permission slip. You don't owe anyone your time. You've earned the right to choose yourself, and that choice can lead to a kind of joy you might not have felt in years. Now let's move into our second reason. Your peace is worth more than social chatter. As you get older, something magical happens. You start to crave calm over chaos. In your 20s, 30s, or even 50s, social gatherings might have felt like the heartbeat of a full life. The laughter, the stories, the buzz of being around others, it was exciting. But after 70, you might notice that the noise of constant socializing starts to feel heavy. You begin to value the quiet moments, the sound of birds outside your window, the stillness of an evening spent with a good book, or the simple joy of a walk without needing to fill the silence with talk. This isn't about becoming a hermit. It's about realizing that peace is a treasure, and you don't need a room full of people to find it. I think of Evelyn, an 80-year-old woman who used to be the queen of her neighborhood social scene. She organized book clubs, hosted potlucks, and never missed a chance to catch up with friends. But as she got older, she noticed those events started to feel like chores. The book club debates turned into arguments, and the potlucks came with endless planning and cleanup. One winter, Evelyn decided to take a break. She politely declined invitations and spent her evenings knitting by the fire, listening to classical music. At first, she worried she'd feel isolated, but the opposite happened. She felt lighter, more at ease. She realized that many of her friendships had become habits, not joys, and letting them fade brought her a kind of calm she hadn't known she was missing. This craving for peace is something many seniors share. Studies show that as we age, our brains become more selective about where we spend our emotional energy. You're not being selfish when you choose a quiet night in over a loud gathering. You're protecting your well-being. Socializing, even with good friends, can come with demands. Keeping up with conversations, navigating group dynamics, or feeling obligated to stay longer than you want. After 70, you've earned the right to say, "This isn't for me anymore." You can choose peace over pressure, and that choice can transform your days. Imagine waking up knowing your time is yours. No need to rush to a phone call or dread a social event that feels more like a duty than a delight. That's the gift of independence, and it's waiting for you to claim it. If you're finding this helpful, so far drop the number 2 in the comments to let me know you're with me. We're just getting started, and there's so much more to explore about how embracing independence can make your life happier and fuller. Stick with me as we dive into the next reason, where we'll talk about how letting go of friendships can actually protect your heart and your health. Let's dive into our next reason why you don't need a big circle of friends after 70. Letting go of friendships can protect your heart from unnecessary stress. You've probably noticed that not every friendship feels as uplifting as it used to. Some relationships, even ones you've had for years, can start to carry a weight. Maybe it's the friend who only calls to vent, or the group that always pulls you into drama you'd rather avoid. After 70, you've got enough life experience to know that stress isn't just a feeling. It can take a real toll on your health, and the good news? Choosing independence means choosing to shield your heart and mind from that burden. Think about Mary, an 82-year-old. I heard about through a local senior center. For years, she was the go-to person in her friend group, the one everyone called for advice or to mediate arguments. She loved feeling needed, but over time, those calls started to wear her down. One friend would complain about family troubles, another would rehash old grudges, and Mary found herself lying awake at night, worrying about their problems. Her doctor noticed her blood pressure creeping up, and when she mentioned the stress of her friendships, he said something that stuck Mary. "Your heart doesn't need extra baggage." That was her wake-up call. She started setting boundaries, politely declining calls that felt like emotional dumps, and focusing on activities that brought her calm, like painting watercolors in her sunroom. Within months, she felt lighter and her blood pressure evened out. Mary learned that protecting her peace wasn't selfish. It was survival. This isn't just anecdotal. Research shows that chronic stress from strained relationships can raise cortisol levels, which over time can harm your heart, weaken your immune system, and even affect your sleep. After 70, when your body might already be working harder to stay strong, why add that extra strain? Letting go of friendships that feel more like obligations than joys doesn't mean you're cold or uncaring. It means you're prioritizing your health, choosing relationships that lift you up instead of dragging you down. Maybe you've got a friend who's always negative or someone who expects you to be available 24/7. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you can step back, limit contact, and redirect your energy to what makes you feel good. That might be a quiet morning with a crossword puzzle, a chat with a family member who gets you, or even just savoring the silence of your own space. When you reduce stress, you're not just protecting your heart, you're giving yourself the chance to live longer and happier. If this resonates with you, drop the number 3 in the comments to let me know you're feeling this. We're building a community here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now let's move into our 4th reason: fewer friendships mean more time to rediscover yourself. One of the greatest gifts of your later years is the chance to reconnect with who you are. Not the person you had to be for work, family, or friends, but the real you, the one who's been waiting to shine. When you're not spending your days keeping up with social commitments, you suddenly have time to explore passions you might have set aside or even discover new ones that light up your soul. I think of George, a 75-year-old retiree who used to spend every weekend with his old golf buddies. They'd play a round-grab lunch and talk about the same things: sports, politics, who was moving. Where it was fun for a while, but George started to feel like he was just going through the motions. One day he skipped golf to visit a local art gallery, something he hadn't done since his 20s. Wandering through the exhibits, he felt a spark he hadn't felt in years. That visit turned into a weekly ritual, then a painting class, and soon George was spending hours at his easel creating landscapes that made him smile. He didn't ditch his buddies entirely, but he cut back on the meetups, and the time he gained became his own. He told me, "I didn't realize how much I missed just being me until I stopped filling my days with other people." This is what happens when you let go of friendships that take up more time than they're worth. You get to rediscover yourself. Maybe you've always wanted to learn to play the piano, write a memoir, or grow a vegetable garden. Maybe it's as simple as sitting down with a cup of coffee and a journal, letting your thoughts wander without interruption. Social obligations can eat up hours that could be spent on these joys, and after 70, your time is too precious to waste. You don't need a packed social calendar to feel fulfilled. You need moments that make you feel alive. And the best part, when you invest in yourself, you start to attract people who share your passions naturally without the pressure of forced friendships. Imagine meeting someone at that painting class or gardening club who gets you. Not because you're trying to keep up, but because you're both just being yourselves. That's the kind of connection that happens when you prioritize your own growth. If you're inspired to try something new, drop the number 4 in the comments and share what you'd love to explore. Your story might spark someone else's journey. Next, we'll explore how embracing independence can deepen your connection to what truly matters. So stay with me as we keep uncovering the freedom of living life on your own terms. Let's keep exploring why you don't need a big circle of friends after 70. With our 5th reason, your happiness doesn't depend on others. It comes from within. One of the most profound shifts in your later years is realizing that the key to a joyful life isn't found in how many people are around you, but in how comfortable you are with yourself. You've spent decades learning who you are, your strengths, your quirks, your dreams, and now after 70, you have the chance to lean into that self-knowledge like never before. When you let go of the pressure to maintain friendships that feel more like duties than delights, you open up space to build the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. Consider Louise, a 77-year-old who used to fill her days with social commitments, bridge games, coffee meetups, church group events. She thought staying busy was the secret to staying happy, but she often came home feeling empty, like she'd been running on a treadmill without getting anywhere. One summer, she decided to slow down. Instead of rushing to the next event, she started spending mornings in her backyard, tending to her roses and listening to the hum of bees. She began writing letters to her grandchildren, not because she had to, but because it brought her joy to share her stories. Louise discovered that she didn't need a room full of people to feel connected. She found connection in her own thoughts, her own creativity, her own quiet moments. "I'm my own best friend now," she told me, her eyes sparkling. "And I'm pretty good company." This is the magic of embracing independence. You become your own source of happiness. You don't need constant conversation or external validation to feel whole. Studies on aging show that people over 70 who cultivate a strong sense of self-compassion, treating themselves with kindness and acceptance, are less likely to feel lonely even with fewer social ties. That's because loneliness isn't about how many people you see. It's about how connected you feel to yourself when you enjoy your own company. Whether it's through hobbies, reflection, or simply savoring a sunny afternoon, you unlock a kind of contentment that no social circle can provide. So if you've ever worried that stepping back from friendships might leave you isolated, try this. Spend a day doing something just for you. Maybe it's flipping through old photo albums, trying a new recipe, or watching a favorite movie. Notice how it feels to be fully present with yourself. You might be surprised at how fulfilling it is. If Louise's story strikes a chord, drop the number 5 in the comments to let me know you're with me. Your thoughts mean so much, and I'd love to hear how you're finding joy in your own company. Now let's move into our 6th reason. Fewer friendships mean fewer emotional roller coasters. Friendships, even the best ones, can come with ups and downs. Misunderstandings, unmet expectations, or moments when you give more than you get. After 70, you've been through enough to know that emotional drama isn't worth your energy. By choosing independence, you can step off the roller coaster and find a steadier, more peaceful path. I think of Henry, a 74-year-old who had a close friend, Tom, for over 30 years. They'd meet weekly for coffee, sharing everything from family updates to political debates. But over time, Tom started leaning on Henry, heavily calling late at night to vent about his troubles or asking for favors without reciprocating. Henry wanted to be there, but he noticed he felt drained after every interaction. One day after Tom got upset because Henry couldn't drop everything to help, Henry had a realization he didn't have to keep riding this wave. He gently set boundaries, spacing out their meetups and keeping conversations lighter. At first he felt guilty, but soon he noticed a change. His days felt calmer, his mood more stable. He started spending those coffee hours volunteering at a local library, sorting books, and chatting with patrons who appreciated his time without demanding it. Henry didn't lose Tom entirely, but by stepping back, he protected his emotional well-being. This is a truth many seniors come to embrace. Fewer friendships mean fewer chances for disappointment. You've likely had moments where a friend let you down. Maybe they forgot to call or they weren't there when you needed them. Those moments sting, and they can chip away at your peace. After 70, you have the wisdom to choose relationships that feel mutual and uplifting and let go of the ones that don't. This isn't about closing your heart. It's about guarding it. You might still cherish a few close connections, family, a lifelong friend or a neighbor who brings a smile, but you don't need a long list of contacts to feel fulfilled. By focusing on quality over quantity, you create a life with less drama and more calm, and that's a gift you deserve. Drop the number 6 in the comments if you've ever felt lighter after letting go of a draining relationship. We're almost at the end, so stick with me for our final reason. Independence lets you live life on your terms. By now you've seen how stepping back from unnecessary friendships can free up your time, protect your health, and deepen your self-connection. But here's the heart of it all. When you embrace independence, you get to design a life that's truly yours. No more bending to fit someone else's schedule. No more saying yes to plans that don't excite you. After 70, you've earned the freedom to live exactly as you choose. And that freedom is where true happiness lies. Take Sarah, an 85-year-old who used to feel obligated to attend every family gathering, friend lunch, and community event. She thought it was her duty to stay involved even when it left her exhausted. One spring, she decided to try something different. She said no to a few invitations and used that time to start a small herb garden on her balcony. She'd sit there each morning sipping tea and watching her basil and mint grow, feeling a quiet pride in creating something just for herself. Sarah realized that living on her terms didn't mean shutting out the world. It meant choosing what filled her heart. She still saw her closest loved ones, but on her own schedule, and she found that those moments felt richer because they were intentional. This is the beauty of your later years. You get to write the rules. Maybe living on your terms means traveling solo to a place you've always wanted to see, or maybe it's staying home with a good book and no apologies. Whatever it looks like for you, independence means you're no longer tethered to what others expect. You can say yes to what lights you up and no to what doesn't, and that choice can make every day feel like a gift. As we wrap up, think about this every time you choose yourself, your peace, your passions, your health. You're building a life that's not just happy, but deeply yours. That's the power of independence, and it's yours to embrace. So what stood out to you today? Maybe it's the idea that your happiness comes from within, or the freedom of living without emotional ups and downs. Drop a comment below and share one thing you're taking away from this video. Your stories inspire others, and I love reading them. If this video spoke to you, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss more tips for living your best life. Thanks for joining me, and here's to thriving on your own terms at any age.